Hello, everybody. This is Tom Eckert here. You're listening to my podcast, Numerology, a GPS for the soul. This is your place to learn about the true power of numerology and how to use it to bring out the best in yourself, understand your loved ones better, take wise decisions, and prepare for your future. In other words, how to live your life aligned with your true destiny. Take your time to educate yourself and share these podcasts with your friends and family so they too can enjoy the great benefits of numerology. Enjoy! Hello there, and welcome to all my listeners. Today, I am very, very excited to share with you a unique episode. You know that all my episodes are very authentic, recorded on the spot. I'm sharing things from my heart. And today, I have a special guest with me, a world-renowned astronumerologist, author, and also an author of many books, by the way, that you can find on Amazon, Numbers and You, Lloyd's Book of Numbers, many others that we'll mention probably throughout this episode, but none other than Lloyd Strayhorn. So let's have Lloyd with us here on the video. But before we enter this conversation, if you are new here to this podcast, welcome. In this podcast, I discuss in-depth numerology as a way for spiritual growth, self-understanding, expansion of consciousness. And my personal take on numerology is trying to sort of make it applicable, grounded for everyday life matters, so you can actually use numerology and apply it to your life to make it better, more aligned with your true purpose, with your soul, with your inner calling. Now, here are just a few ways if you want to dive deeper into numerology. First and foremost, you can book a numerology reading with me. A reading is a great way to get to know yourself from the inside out. Ask any question that is burning in your life and get answers tailored especially to you. If you want to know more about my reading, simply check out the link in the episode description where you can see all the types of readings that I offer and book a reading with me. If you want to go deeper and master the art of numerology, I have two study paths. The first is a self-study courses library that I have, self-paced path. To date, I have 2 courses and more are coming up. You can study them on your mobile device, your tablet, or your laptop. If you want to go deep and really, really master numerology, then you can sign up to my complete in-depth study certification program where you study directly with me from a complete beginner to all the way to an expert numerologist and get certified along the way. All the links are in the episode description, so you can read more and contact me to know more. And having said that, Lloyd, welcome to the show. I'm very, very honored to have you. What a joy.
Feeling is mutual, my friend. The feeling is very mutual. It is an honor and a pleasure.
So Lloyd, just to make sure that I presented you in the most proper way. So you're an astronumerologist. I know that you also deal with palmistry.
Yes.
You've written a few books.
Yes.
Some of which are pretty solid and like some like staple books in the world of numerology. Am I right? Like for example, Numbers and You. I know I've heard about that book.
Yes. In fact, when they listed the 100 best all-time selling numerology books from 1 to 100 in ranking order, the Numbers in You ranked number 8. So even if they did the top 10, I still fell within that category. So I'm honored. But I wrote a total of 6 books, for which 4 of them are available on Amazon.
Right, because I've seen 4 of them on Amazon, but you did write more. I remember you telling me privately.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, how awesome. So my friends, Lloyd is an astronumerologist, with an experience of many, many years. Lloyd, I believe over 40 years of experience, right?
Yes, 40 years plus.
40 years plus. Lloyd is from New York. Lloyd has met, I think, many big names throughout his career.
Yes,
Has been featured on TV, very, very active on the field in the field. I think you also have a pretty big following on TikTok, if I'm correct.
yes, I have about 1 million followers on TikTok. In my Udemy courses, my online courses, I have about 5,800 students in all the continents.
My
So
friend,
it's a nice
what a
achievement.
joy. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a nice achievement. Yeah, it's beautiful. And it's not taken for granted in our field. So chapeau, as they say, and
Yeah.
I want to say I'm gonna circle back and tell our listeners about and the viewers as well this time about your numerology astrology app.
Hmm.
But before that, I want to say today what Lloyd and I are going to discuss is sort of like the difference between in-depth numerology and what one can say is more a shallow approach to numerology. What's the difference? How we can approach the numbers in a more uh, like more skin deep level, or have a very deep dive into them. And we're just gonna go freestyle, as I said in the beginning, see where this takes us. Perhaps talk about our own numbers to give some examples, or numbers of other people. We'll see where it takes us.
Hmm.
Lloyd, do you want to say a few words about your astrology app or astrology numerology app?
Yes, I have an astronumerology app that combines both astrology and numerology. It is called a star eight. So think of a star in the heavens with the number eight attached. So it's ASTAR with the number eight. It is designed for both Android and iPhone users.
That's amazing. I will definitely leave a link to Lloyd's Linktree where you have access to all of Lloyd's websites, courses, app, and so far, and so on and so forth. So, Lloyd, in-depth numerology, um, shallow numerology. You have many years of experience, and I have my years of experience. I want to start by saying that I think my listeners already know me as someone that constantly refers to in-depth numerology, someone who gives a lot of importance to looking into the depth of things. For example, a lot of what I talk about in my episodes refers to number combinations. So in most numerology books or websites or even courses, there's very little talk about how do numbers coalesce? How do they come together to form something a little more profound? People talk about, okay, you're a seven, this means this. You're a two, this means that. But what happens when two meets a seven? What happens when three meets a nine? And they
Hmm.
coalesce, they merge. For example, so I love talking about the complexities forming something more unified, more profound. I like looking at how the core numbers sort of come together to really tell a more profound and detailed story. That's my take. Whereas I noticed that a lot there are many, many channels out there that focus on, for example, angel numbers. Oh, you looked at your watch or you looked at your phone and it's like 442.
Yeah,
Oh, this
yeah.
is a message. You got a message, and or what does that mean? Or oh, I saw a number plate and it had like 1111, therefore, whatever, fill in the blank. Um, etc. To me, or people putting a lot of emphasis on, let's say, house numbers as like a life-changing element. Whereas for me, as a numerologist, I try to direct people's attention to using the numbers to really uh like have the power in their own hands and not abdicate it to some external something, a house number, a number plate, an angel number, but to really understand themselves and transform. So that's sort of my take or my focus or what I try to do with numerology. And I think there's a lot of knowledge out there that gives a bad name to numerology. What do you think? What's your experience?
Well, my experience is I almost have goosebumps because we think just alike. So when
Mm,
I talk to a client, it is like, so they really understand it. And you're absolutely right. You know, it's so interesting. When I was getting into this was before the internet and Google and all these things. So I
yes.
had to learn through books. Now, with this modern age that we're in, this 21st century, you know, there's always shortcuts. So things seem to be more surfacey than in depth. So I'm always the person that like to go in depth. And you know what's interesting about you and I, Tom? We're both we're both air signs with water numbers. So
Right.
the moon
So
numbers are the two and the seven.
you're Aquarius sun, right?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, but numerically, I'm a number seven and you're a number two. Well, these are the moon numbers. In
Mm,
numerology, for me, I've learned how to kind of synthesize and break it into compartments. There is the sun numbers, which is the one and the four. Then there are the moon numbers, which is you and I, the two and the seven. The two rules the full side of the moon, and the seven rules the new side of the moon. And we're both air signs. You a Libra, I'm an Aquarius. So it's
mm,
so interesting. We're pretty much on the same page. And what I've learned how to do is in my being self-taught, I would go deep down the rabbit hole. But I found that when I talk to the average layperson who is not, now see, if we having a numerology convention, really go deep into everything. But when I'm talking to the layperson who doesn't understand that, for example, we use the term from the month, the day, and the year. We call it the life path, the birth path, the destiny number,
right.
whatever. So, but a person who is not familiar with what we do, they say, "Yeah, so what does it mean?" I come out of New York. This is what does it mean city, okay? So
Hmm.
what I've learned how to do is simplify it, and I says the month, the day, and the year you're born symbolically says you're in the first grade in the school of life, third grade in the school of life. Because most people, at least here in the West, are familiar with the school of life. What are we here to learn? Because that is the whole point of the month, the day, and the year to guide us into along this journey from sunrise to sunset, from the womb to the tomb, what we're here to learn and master in this present existence. And if we pass the test, and whatnot. Hopefully, in the next reincarnation, there's some people who believe in that. I don't, it's not to say that it doesn't exist, but I try to do things that only I can prove. If I can't prove it, I'm open, but until I can prove it and feel comfortable with it, but who knows? Who knows? We might go further. But I've learned when I'm dealing with the average person, I try to keep it simple. The simpler, the better. Now, it's interesting you talked about the angel numbers because that is the popular thing. Well, I see this number every time I open a phone.
Hmm.
I see this number on the license plate. So what I've done is I've kind of speak the language of people in this. I'll say, your angel numbers in your case, Tom, are the 2, 7, and 6. That actually comes from your birthday, not what you see on a screen, not what you see on a license plate, not what you see if ever, but these are the numbers that will always follow you. And then I try to make it in a sense, and this is when I have people now have a pen and paper to write down the information. So when I take them through my Q&A, what is your mother's birthday, your father's birthday, your children, or month you married, or the certain highlights that affect all of us, you'd be amazed how they begin to underscore and how they look. You know what I'm saying? And that's my whole thing. Because if someone can be in the wrong place at the wrong time, my objective is pretty much like yours, how to be in the right place at the right time in perfect harmony with the universe. Because that's
Yeah.
really what this is about.
Yes. And that's very beautiful. I mean, what you're saying, in other words, is that I think based on where the person is at, there are different, there's we can feed people to different degrees with
Hmm.
a different level of information. Not everybody can sort of like digest and swallow um, the very depths of numerology. I think that what you're saying is very interesting. And it's true. I think many people are not seeking for something too deep. I think it's not easy. Also, from where I'm coming from the place of teaching Dharma, teaching deeper spirituality. I think it's, and for me, of course, or naturally, numerology sort of comes into that context or under that umbrella. And I think
Hmm.
that in a way, I'm a little bit of an uncompromising type, being a life path 7.
And good for you.
Um, exactly. So there's a sort of like I don't want to compromise, or sell myself short, just to sort of accommodate everybody's need. I want to say, no, I'm giving quality, and whoever
Hmm.
is meant to come to me will come to me, even if that means I'm losing many, many potential clients along the path, but I'm not in it for the money. You
We
know what I
are
mean?
we're on the same page.
Yes.
We are literally on the same page, you and I. I do this for service. I do this to help humanity. I do it in a way that kind of makes it more practical. So, because if I said to a person, well, you're number this person or number that, here in New York anyway, they'll say, well, what does that mean? So I've just been used to learning how, although I know in depth all the core numbers, the other specific numbers, and what happens is people think that numbers appear to be very simple because they go to 1 to 9, except the master numbers of, say, 11, 22, 33. But when people read my book, they really see how in depth it is. But I've learned how to kind of keep it simple, Simon,
Yes.
for the average person. So now you and I, we are colleagues. So if I was there visiting you or you visiting me, we could really talk shop. We can get into this and I could learn
Right.
more in depth, I'm sure, and you could learn more in depth from me. But when I'm
Absolutely.
thinking to a person who's just viewing our interview or coming into it and asking questions, I've learned how to kind of keep it simple for them. Then there are those, as we know, who therefore says, you know, Tom, I want to go deeper into this. And those are the ones we bring into our fold. Those are the ones
Exactly.
really, really get down and teach them in a depth. Because I saw the interview you did with a young lady, you really got into it. You got into the weeds. It was nice. It was nice. But for a
Yes.
person who is just ringing our bell, scheduling an appointment, we can go deep, but I've learned how to kind of keep it simple because actually we know enough where we can keep one person for maybe an hour or two easy with no problems,
Oh, of course. Of course.
you
Of
know?
course. I mean, I eventually established myself more as a numerology teacher. So I give consultations for sure, but that's not my baby, so to speak. My baby is really
Hmm.
teaching numerology, and I have students
Hmm.
from many different countries, and I think that really gives me the joy. And so I guess naturally I'm more inclined to the in-depth side of it.
Hmm.
And I had people coming to me, I had students coming to me after having learned with other teachers and very solid teachers, people that are much more well known and well established than myself,
Hmm.
coming to me and telling me, wow, like I learning from you now, Tom, like I'm realizing I didn't learn numerology before.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I'm not saying it to brag. I'm saying it to sort of because I want to sort of like try to draw some portrait of what is the service of more simple numerology, what is the service of more in-depth numerology, and how can we also, maybe this is an interesting question to sort of like bring up in our conversation, how this field of ours has no quality control, which is both great because we have like a space for creativity and nobody who can tell us like, hey, you need like this diploma and that,
Sure, sure,
degree to do it.
sure.
You can sort of pursue it. At the same time, anybody can just say, I'm a numerologist or I'm an astronumerologist and give people, and people are doing this. They open a TikTok account and they have a very strong charismatic personality and they're just like, you know, shooting, sentences and ideas and videos left and right, and but they're not necessarily giving reliable information, or they're not. Some of them are even using it to scare people. This is going to
Hmm.
happen to you.
Hmm.
That's going to happen to
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
Don't marry this person.
Hmm.
They're going to be bad for you. Or I'm
Hmm.
very, very cautious with these things. For example, when people, in my experience of, let's say, talking more in-depth numerology, I'm going to sort of lean into the in-depth for a second. When people come to me and ask me about a relationship, you will never hear me telling people you are not meant to be together. This is a real no-go for me. I'm not saying that one cannot do that in a certain professional setting. I'm just that for me, I learned that even when I really do a sort of a composite chart of their mutual energies, I've seen people with the most harmonious energies, like blended composite energies, having horrible relationships. I've seen people
Yep.
with very disharmonious composite charts having fantastic, wonderful relationships, working on themselves, putting in, the extra effort, going the extra mile. So I always say to my students, love is prior to the numbers. It's bigger than the numbers. Consciousness is bigger than the numbers. Love and consciousness uses the numbers. You know what I mean? So like I'm always very cautious. I will tell people these can be your traps. Yes. Be
Mm-hmm.
aware of
Mm-hmm.
that. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? But this can be your potential. I'm never going to tell people, this is not going to work out.
Tom, it's amazing. If I say the same thing, you would think I'm copying you, but we're on the same page. I refer myself as a teacher of the subject, okay? Yet I'm a student, which means I'm always open to constantly learn. So, for example, since I've had the honor and pleasure of meeting you, if we were to talk off camera in our own way, I'm sure that I could learn a lot and we can learn from each other, you know? And
And I'm
that's the
sure we
thing.
will.
And I never tell people that, like, okay, you two shouldn't be together. First of all, I don't have that right. And then when you think of our parents and our grandparents and their great grandparents, they didn't marry because of the numbers, Tom. They didn't marry
Exactly.
because of the stars, and they had to
Exactly.
go through it. And don't think we did. And like you can have the most, everybody has had challenges. Only when in the fairy tales where they say, and they live happily ever after. That's only in the fairy tales.
Only in the
But
fairy
I don't
tales.
care who
Yeah.
it is. We'll have moments where I'll work their nerves or they work my nerves, as I call it. You know what I'm saying? That's part of
Absolutely.
how we deal with it and whatnot. So my attitude, even when I see numbers that supposedly are supposed to be incompatible, to give you an example, in astrology, for example, there's this famous actress who is a Leo. Angela Bassett is her name. She's born August 16th. Well, she's married. Her husband that they've been for years is Courtney Vance. He's a Pisces. Now, Leo is fire. Her husband is water.
Water.
However, she's a fire sign with a water number, and he happens to be a water sign with a fire number. So it's only when I got into numerology that I began to see these exceptions to the rule that, oh no, Leo, fire and water don't go together. No, no, no. But these are the things we understand through our experiences. So, like you, I'm not a judge. It is not my role to play judgment with anybody. I lay the things as I see it, and then they have to make their own decisions. And we leave
Yes.
it up to them. And it's going to be their attitude going into business, going into a relationship, or going into life in general. It's going what their attitude is going to be. We don't have that control over that, but we can express to them what lies before them, and then it's up to them.
Yeah. That's really well said. Really well said.
Yeah, we can't do any more than that. If we held everybody's hand, Tom, you would never get out your house, okay?
Yeah,
So it,
absolutely. Absolutely.
it's so our role, I think, is to guide them. I've read people, I don't care what their gender is, what their preferences is in the world of relationships. My role is not to judge, but to help them. That's why they come to us. That's why we're teachers. That's why we're humanitarians. And both you
Yes.
and I have one thing, astrologically speaking. We're not ruled by animal sign. Yours is the scale about balance, and mine is the water bearer, you know? So we're not judgmental, and especially Libyans, because that is the whole thing is to, because too much
See
of
both
is
sides.
better. No, no, yes, yes.
Two
And that's
sides of the
art
coin.
nowadays. That's a rare art.
It is a rare art, exactly, and that's very, very true. That's very, very true. And I say again, I want to say also to all our listeners and viewers that like I have no judgment at all. When I say shallow numerology, perhaps it sounds a little bit um, as if I'm downplaying it or something like that. Of course, I'm coming from a certain space, and all my listeners know that I stand for in-depth numerology. That's my particular service.
Hmm.
I'm sure that there are many wonderful numerologists out there that put more emphasis on the, let's say, the more surface side of things, which is completely fine because if people need that, then it's a service. And
Yes.
every type of service is needed, 100%. I just think that it's good. I at least hope in recording my podcast that I can help people differentiate. I think differentiation and discernment is sort of like an art of wisdom. You know, the ability to sort of be able to know what I'm going for. There are times maybe when I need to analyze an angel number
Mm-hmm.
or time
Mm-hmm.
to actually listen to these little messages. I've been actually receiving them lately. Um, or sometimes it is a good idea to look at the house number you're living in.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't make it my, you know, I wouldn't make it the centerpiece of my life. Like, oh, it's so important, like what house number I have or what's the number plate on my car. I would definitely always prefer to look at my life path, my expression number, my soulage, my core
Yep.
numbers,
Yep.
speaking
Yep.
from a numerological perspective, or the sun, the ascendant, the moon, the big three. To me, in numerology, I call the big three the life path, the expression number, the soulage, and the parallels would be like the sun, the moon, and the ascendant.
Mm-hmm.
Understand them deeply, understand their interactions deeply, because by only knowing these big three, we are able to know our potentials, our strengths, our destiny, what the soul, sort of like I always call it like what the soul took on as a body, as a
Mm-hmm.
form to work through,
Mm-hmm.
and also to learn our own shadows, the little traps, the blocks, small and big,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
work on ourselves. You know what I'm
Here we
saying?
call it the shadow. The shadow means the dark side, that side that sometimes we avoid or don't want to admit to. But no one is perfect, Tom. I've never met a perfect individual, you nor I, or anybody we meet. I have not yet anybody who, as I call it, walk on water. Now, Tom, when you start walking on water, okay, then I'll expect, but no one, that's how that goes. And
Yes.
so, and I think we're so much on the same page in the work we do. And like you, I've had people come to me that have gone to teachers that I know who have come to me for consultations. So it just shows it's so interesting, though we're thousands of miles away, our stories are so similar in terms of meeting people, what we do, how we really take in earnest helping humanity with no strings attached so they can be better beings on this planet. And that's what we can do.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. It's
Yeah.
such a it's so lovely listening to you and your eloquence and the gentle way in which you communicate your message. It's very touching for me.
Yeah.
Um, so thank you for doing that. And just before we keep our conversation going, I just want to say if you are enjoying this conversation so far, then definitely make sure to like, subscribe, follow, click the notifications bell to listen to more in-depth numerology content and become part of my numerology community. Also, make sure to follow me on Substack, where I write content that combines numerology and Dharma. The links are in the episode description. And of course, make sure to leave a comment. What is your experience with numerology? In-depth numerology, more shallow numerology, angel numbers, house numbers, life path, this versus that. What do you think about this topic? I'm always answering comments, so I'm very much looking forward to hearing from you.
And I would say I approve this message. Please subscribe, share, like Tom Eckert. That's what I'm saying. I approve this message. I support him 1,000%. Please do. And
Thank you, Lloyd.
traveled, I've met numerologists, but when I met Tom, when I was out of town visiting, we hit it off right away. And I consider us brothers in that sense.
Yes, we
Look a
immediately
little
felt like
different,
family.
say that no mind, but we are brothers, definitely.
Yes, yes,
And we
yes.
both are here to serve humanity. That's our role.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's the whole thing. Um, So we still have some time left, and I want to maybe, I have your chart in front of me.
Okay.
I'm always open with my listeners about my numbers. So I like being transparent. I like exposing my strengths, my weaknesses, my struggles, my
We all
everything,
have them.
just
Yes,
to
yes, we have
be
them all.
completely
Yeah.
transparent. I'm not going to expose anything personal or anything like that, but I think it's an opportunity to maybe just use an example, use ourselves as an example. Um, you have two life paths.
Hmm.
At least according to my calculations, do you according to your methodology, do you have a 2 or an 11 two?
Well, it's a two, and it all depends on the way you add it. There are certain schools of thoughts. I was taught to put the month at the top, the date underneath, the year underneath that, add my columns down, add it across, and that's it. Then you have a person that will say, well, a two and a seven and a two, you know what I'm saying? So people do
Yeah,
short,
exactly.
you know what I'm saying? So I
Yes,
find that if
yes,
I really want to determine the master numbers, I take the month you were born, the day. For example, you're born in 1984. That's the master number 22.
exactly.
You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? So that's a very, very special year for you. And that deals with the harvest side of your life. And so, as you know, again, there's so many moving parts to what we do, you know? So
Absolutely,
it's just
absolutely.
amazing. It's amazing.
But I'm wondering because like okay, so I just like took a sneak peek at your chart and I saw that like in the way I calculate, you have a 20/2.
Yes,
Right? A two
exactly.
derived from 20, which is a sort of like a very subtle two. The zero there, the 20, like makes that two
To the
more
10th
subtle,
power.
more
Mm-hmm.
refined,
Mm-hmm.
more perceptive, it adds that spiritual element. Um, how do you, here's just like, I want to sort of like unpack it on purpose to sort of like give the in-depth taste of the two. To me, the two is first of all, like, I think when I think of number two, I also think about Libra. There's a six and there's the two.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the two for me is also, if there's one word I had to choose for number two, it will be sensitivity.
I was gonna say a gentle spirit. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's
I'm
very
saying it
similar.
another way. It's a gentle
Yes.
spirit, definitely.
Yes, it's someone who's so, and I also like to see them energetically like a receptacle. There's something that can truly, like a sponge, that there's something that can truly be open and receive from life, from the universe, from another, to let something truly enter them. And this is something very, very unique about number two, like allowing the universe to touch them, allowing emotions to come in, allowing other people's perspectives to touch them, to be touched. And there's something about the two that is also what I find very beautiful about them is their ability to wait for the right timing. There's a thing about number two that is sort of, it's not, it's not pushy.
It's patient.
It's
That's
very
the
patient.
word. It's
Exactly.
patient. And when it's time, it is time.
And when it's time, it's time. Exactly.
Yeah. So when I found out you were born on the second and my destiny or life path, birth path is a two, that made perfect sense to me. And I knew right away we would just hit it off fine.
Yes,
And
it's a,
because the way, see, and when you say the 20, I've learned also how to read the tarot. And the 20th card in the tarot deck is called the Awakening. It's a picture symbol of a man, a woman, and a child with their hands clasped in prayer, looking toward the heavens. So part of the 20 is to raise people's awareness, to raise their
right.
understanding. So whether it's a 2 or a 11 or a 20, in my case, that is our purpose. Now
Yes.
as they said here in this country, you could lead a horse to water, but making him drink is another story. But it can't be said we didn't have this conversation, you know?
Mm, yes. Yes. Beautifully said. And I like it that you are. So I was like, you have this. It seems like you have a way of tying a lot of small details together and make them sort of like tie a thread. Or I'm sorry for my imperfect English, but you know what I mean. Like
I
sort of like
understand.
put a
Mm-hmm.
thread through all of them and make them
Mm-hmm.
sort of make sense to people. Like you're saying, if you have a this, you have a that, and then you tie it to a certain um, astrological sign and a certain element, a water, a fire, and then
Yeah,
you sort of you
yeah,
blend
yeah.
those things and you sort of you give people some very interesting input. I find that very, very interesting. So just out of curiosity, if I tell you that my life path is a 25/7,
Mm-hmm.
my expression number is a 27/9. Now, my listeners know that very well about me already by now. So
Mm-hmm.
25/7 life path,
Mm-hmm.
expression number 27/9.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your sort of your take on that? And again, doesn't have to go with it like your style. Do it Lloyd
Well, it's
style.
interesting because there's a technique in numerology called the planes of expression. There are
Right.
numbers on the physical plane, the mental plane, the emotional, and the spiritual plane. Well, the only two numbers on the spiritual plane, my friend, is the number 7, that's your destiny number, and the number 9, which is your expression number. So it
Yeah.
tells me that you are definitely here to do things on a higher level because those are the only two numbers that are found on the spiritual plane. And it also represents endings, like 9 represents completion,
Right.
7 represents spiritual completions. So you would take to anything about esoteric, metaphysical, spiritual, occult way in a natural form. Very, 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 very natural. It would be like taking a duck to water or whatever they call it. You would be right at home in this world. And notice this is exactly what you do. Not only do you
Right.
teach, but you go down the rabbit hole. That's that 7 energy.
Exactly.
You don't want to know just, okay, it happened, but why did it happen? So you go deep and hard. So I guess the people in your life, like your brother or sister coming up and say, Tom, you always ask so many questions. Why you always ask so many questions? Well, you can't help it. You really can't because you're living up to your numbers to get to the bottom of a situation. And this is how we gain understanding. This is how you're better to help people better help themselves to be the best version of themselves, as they like to say here in the West.
Yes, yes, exactly. To
Yeah.
be a better version of oneself. Exactly. And when I speak about the 7/9, again, coalescing, coming together in synergy, I usually talk about the archetype. When I teach my students, right? I don't own the 7/9. I happen to be born into these numbers, and there are many
Right.
people out there with 7/9 in different locations. But I usually
Yeah.
talk about this as an archetype of the elder or like the wise old one. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like there's something about the 7/9 coming together, the 7 with that depth, relentless depth, the 9 with the sort of like bird's eye view, the sort of like something that's more of perspective, something that aspires to, as you said, to completion. Coming together when they coalesce, it really, really forms this energy of like the elder, the one who's seen a lot, or sometimes like again, like
Hmm.
more
Yep.
archetypically,
Yep.
the one who's seen it all energy. I often see those people as people who can give a lot of sage advice, one can say.
Hmm.
But also, it doesn't come easy. The path of a 7/9, talking shadow or not even shadow, just like the trajectory that they have to take is very testing and very trying in my experience. 7 and 9 have it's a big energy. It's not, it's a multi-layered energy for both of them. There's something
Hmm.
very profound, very vast, and it requires of you to, you said, you used the word, what was it? You said endings. The
Hmm.
endings are also not always comfortable. The endings
Yes.
are sometimes
Yes.
very painful endings.
Hmm. Hmm. But everything must come to an end, and what's interesting is this. The 7 from your birthday, and it's 25, that is called the observant number. People who have the compound number 25 means they are extremely observant, very observant. And because it's a water number, it means they are always protected on water. So let's say you couldn't swim a lick and there was a boating incident. You would be one of the survivors, I guarantee, to come back to shore. There would be no question about it. And so 7 is very deep. And I say when I see a 7, they are seekers of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Then when I look at the 9 portion of your name and birthday, that is global, universal, international, inspirational, motivational. They bring out the best in people. Yet I've learned that 9, because it is governed by the planet of Mars, I call it the number of also of open enemies. because a 9 energy has a very good opinion of itself, but sometimes people will misinterpret it as, oh, Tom is cocky or he's arrogant, and there's no such thing. But nines do have a good feeling about themselves, and so okay, they like to be the masters of their fate, the captains of their ship. What is wrong with that, you know? But 9 is a humanitarian number. This is why they get along with people from all walks of life. So no matter where you go on this planet and visit on this planet, A, you will never have a problem with the locals. And two, once they get to know you, they would always be inspired, which I'm sure your students have become inspired to then spin off on their own as satellites to do the work, which is an extension of what you do. It's something to be very proud of, to me, Tom.
Very well said. Very well said. You have such a beautiful talent with putting things into practical words. I love it about you.
Thank you.
You
Thank
make
you.
it so clear, so beautifully clear, so beautifully
Mhm.
clear. Mm, yeah, and
That's what
also
I
like,
see in these numbers. And they both, so as soon as you said 7 and 9 right away, those are the only two numbers on the spiritual plane, spiritual or intuitive plane. So you can take your
yeah,
pick. You want to do it on a spiritual way or an intuitive way. It is nonetheless, and you merge with both of them too. So that tells me you would have a gift with this. You could be a priest, a monk, a rabbi, a minister, you know what I'm saying? So it all,
yes, yes,
and we're doing God's work anyway, in that sense.
yes,
We're doing it from a metaphysical perspective rather
absolutely,
than more from a religious or biblical perspective. But we're still doing the work
absolutely.
of the Most High.
That's very, very well said. And I think again, I my experience with 7 and 9 being spiritual numbers.
Hmm.
Again, not speaking about myself, speaking to anyone who embodies 7 and 9 major locations. There's there's the destiny and there's some kind of price that everybody pays. For example, in my experience, 7 and 9 have a harder time um, feeling like they belong to this dimension, feeling grounded.
Hmm.
And sometimes their processes take or their like process of development into their destiny, sometimes, not always, takes
Hmm.
a little longer.
Hmm.
What's your experience with that?
Well, I agree with you, but don't forget, sevens and nines are otherworldly. You're at a
Yeah.
very high level. So yes, it would take a while to come into this world as we know it in this way. And so this is why with your 7-9 energy, as you get older, life gets better in that sense.
Mm,
But in the
hmm
early part, it's like, do I belong here or why am I here? But again, these are very spiritual numbers. These are not the physical numbers, because this is a world where it's just very physical about the money, about relationships. But sevens and nines take on an energy all of its own, and it's of a very high or spiritual or esoteric level. And so, yes, it takes a while to kind of meld in. But so you would be one of the late bloomers, but you be the last to have the best laugh. That's the point.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. And you're doing
Mm,
the work. You're doing the work. The fact that you have gone, that you like to go in depth, which is definitely a mark of a 7 energy, going down. So when you teach, like you said, when you teach them in an in-depth way. That is the best way for them to learn. And what you also do, since nines and sevens are kind of like teachers, you can encourage them to develop some own concepts. So I'm willing to bet you some of your students have come back with a concept that may not have been in the books, but who developed some of these concepts, the personal year, the universal year, the this or the that, the chord numbers, all these other things that you and I are very familiar with. How did they come into these concepts? And
right.
and as teachers like yourself that teaches students in a way that leaves them open and receptive to come up with new concepts, new ideas, whatever the case is.
Very
And it's
important.
that's nice. And we're doing our work, sir. We're doing our work
Yes.
as teachers. And I love to teach. And yet I'm a student. I love to learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a never-ending learning process
Yeah.
with these fields. It's every day you learn something new and it's like
And
there's
I tell
an infinity.
people the beautiful thing about numbers is if you know how to count from 1 to 9, you can do this. And so that's my lure to get them into this. It is incredibly simple. Yet the irony is how deep down the rabbit hole this stuff of numerology goes. It's hundreds of thousands of years old. And when Alexander the Great was in Chaldean 356 BC, they told him that then these knowledge of the stars and the numbers were thousands of years old. So,
Right.
so this is so these things now seem to be very popular, but they're very ancient. A question I often get is, well, which came first, like the chicken and the egg? Did numerology come first or did astrology come first? Well, as numerologists, we're going to say numerology. We're going to say, yes, of course, you'll say that, Lloyd. But here's my rationale that in order to go to an astrologer, as you know, they need 5 pieces of information. 3 of them 4 of them deal with numbers. They need the month you were born, the day you were born, the year you were born, the time you were born, and then the location, which I now call in modern terms the GPS. Where were the heavens aligned that when you were born there in Berlin? Where was the heavens when I was born here in Harlem? So we could be born on the same month, day, and year, but in a different time zone that gives it. So you're 6 hours ahead. If I was in Hawaii, I'd be 6 hours behind. If I was in China or India, I'd be 12 hours up the road. So this is why we need that information, but they can't get it without the use of numbers. So to me, maybe it's my rationale. So numbers had to precede so to do it. So, it's so I kind of like to joke with it and get people's perspective, but most people are very familiar with numerology. I mean, excuse me, astrology.
Astrology.
How I
Yes.
started.
Yes.
I was shy in school. I wanted to talk to the girls. I didn't know what to say. And then I found out I was an Aquarius. So I'd read everything about Aquarius. But then along my journey, I found that everybody wants to know something about themselves. I have yet to meet a person that doesn't take an interest in themselves. So
True.
even when J.P. Morgan, a famous billionaire, when he was approached back in his days in the early 1900s, when they says, is it true that astrology makes millionaires? He says, no, it makes billionaires. Because there was a famous astrologer in her day named Evangeline Adams in Aquarius, born February the 8th. And in her autobiography called The Bowl of Heaven, she explained that not only did she meet J.P. Morgan, she taught J.P. Morgan astrology.
Mm.
Just interesting. So these things, so kings and presidents, like for example, Ronald Wilson Reagan, the president of the United States here at one point, when there was an attempted assassination on his life on March the 30th of 1981 in Washington, D.C., his wife, Nancy, hired an astrologer. And what makes it unique, Tom, there have only been 5 Aquarian presidents, with the exception of Ronald Reagan. All 4 of them died in office. And Aquarius being very odd and unusual, the president who lived the shortest was William Henry Harrison. He lived 30 days in Aquarius. The first president to be assassinated was Abraham Lincoln, an Aquarius. Then you have Franklin Delano Roosevelt, another Aquarius, who served 4 terms, which was unheard of. You only get 2 terms, but he, by the way, moved the swearing-in date from March the 4th back into the sign of Aquarius, and the swearing-in date now presidents in this country is January the 20th. But
Mm.
it was basically under the sign of Pisces. So and the beauty of what I do with numerology is it makes me understand history. I've learned more about history. I've understood the rules of English, especially when is this O next to a Y? Is that a vowel or a diphthong or whatever the case is? I mean, I've gone through I'm sure you have too. But this is what makes us who we are as teachers, that we share this information so we can create hopefully better, more inspired students, and they become great teachers also. So it's like we passing the marathon or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. And that's so beautifully said. I think that's a really, really good note to sort of like slowly wrap this up. It's
Hmm.
been it's been so beautifully communicated. Unless you have
Now, I would
anything
like
else you
to
want
have
to
you
say
on
and
my
share.
show here in America at some point, maybe in September, October. I think I'll have it at your birthday, around your birthday
Let's
time.
do it.
And,
I'm down
yeah.
100%.
And
I love
let me tell you another thing that made me think of you. I thought of Mahatma Gandhi, who was also born on the 2nd of October,
right.
how he inspired things. You know what I'm saying? Just a gentle spirit, yet a very powerful force.
Yes.
Know what I'm saying?
27-9 life path, by the way.
Really? Okay, that makes
Yes.
sense. That's global, worldly, universal. And to
Yeah.
this day, So when I was in India, they had a lot of books on him. They even had a book I bought called "The Guy Who Assassinated Him and Why." Just interesting stuff. Interesting stuff.
Yes, 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 absolutely. And this is really a man who was willing, like a proper 27-9, to really sacrifice for the
Mm-hmm.
truth
Mm-hmm.
and for the cause, you know. And I think that's what makes nine the sort of like the ultimate leader, or the universal leader, the leader that is not asking to become a leader, the leader that is simply a leader by example.
Yes, yes.
You know what I mean? Like he just
Mm-hmm.
lived what he spoke, and that I think sort of eventually moved the people to really follow him and create a revolution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a quiet one. He didn't pick up arms. He wasn't throwing rocks. He wasn't trying to bomb nobody. Just his presence and energy and conviction. That's powerful. That's a two. Well, two is
Yeah.
water. Water can be so gentle, but then when it's raised, it can flood. It's water
Yes.
is very powerful.
Oh yeah.
Very,
Still
very
water runs
powerful.
deep. We know
Deep.
that.
Yes, it does. Yes, it
We know
does.
that. Like a drop and a drop and a drop eventually carves a hole in a rock,
Yep, yep. Little by little, then all
little
at
by little.
once. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So
Lloyd, wow, what an honor, what a joy to talk to you. I feel like I can go on and on and on. But I try to limit this for my listeners so they can digest
sure.
these episodes. And so, first of all, I want to thank you for bringing your very, very kind, gentle, eloquent, wise, knowledgeable spirit into this
Thank you so
episode
much,
and
Tom.
contributing with your, yeah, very many, many beautiful words and very soft and warm presence.
Thank you.
I'm very, very happy about us connecting.
There is no question. I already told you we're friends for life. We're
Yes,
friends as long as I live and breathe. And anytime I can be of help to you, and maybe you help to me, I will always. I have your contact, so we
goes
just
both
keep in touch
ways.
with each other. And when it's time for you to come on my show here in America, I will make sure you just get the royal treatment, just like you gave me. No question.
My dear friend, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you, my
so
brother.
much.
Thank you, brother.
So, so to all the listeners, if you have enjoyed this podcast, and you want to keep learning more in-depth numerology, just make sure to subscribe, follow, like, click the notifications bell, become part of this community, support this work. Remember to follow me on Substack to get more in-depth content about Dharma and numerology. Check out my numerology readings to get to know yourself. Check out the numerology study path, the self-study path, the in-depth numerology study path where you study directly with me. And also, check out Lloyd's content. I'm going to leave a link to Lloyd's Linktree, where you can see all of his different and 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 um, and many many things that he does, from the courses on Udemy to his books to his website.
I
Lloyd,
got
what
free
else can they find there?
newsletter. Yeah, I have a free newsletter.
Yes.
But my pride and joy is the developing of the numerology app that helps people understand themselves. That's all. Timing is everything,
Yes.
and being in the right place at the right time is very, very important. And you and I do it in our ways that for people who listen, see, we can tell a person, but will they listen? Well, that's the only thing we can't do. So the numbers are simple. It's the people that are complicated, Tom, and that we can't do, you
Yes.
know?
Yes. And so, can you, what is the name of the astronumerology app once more so
It's
the
called a
listeners?
star eight. ASTAR. Think of a star in the heavens with the number eight attached. So it's ASTAR, the number eight, which when you lay it on the side, it represents infinity.
Yes.
So a star eight, ASTAR, the number eight for your Android or iPhones. Just download it. Many of the features are just freemiums. If you want all the bells and whistles, just a small little fee. But over and above that, I've designed it where you don't need to just invest in yourself.
That's beautiful, and I can attest to that. Lloyd is really doing everything from his heart. including the app, including his work, including his books. So go ahead and check him out. Lloyd, again, thank you so much.
Bless you, Tom. The feeling is mutual, my friend.
Bless
We'll
you, my
talk
friend.
soon. And around your birthday month, I'd love to have you here in
Yes,
America
October
on my
2nd. October 2nd,
okay.
it's
I
coming
know,
up.
I got you. I got you.
Okay, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And as always, I'll catch you in the next ones.
And
Take
please
care, everyone.
approve, please make sure you share, like, and subscribe to Tom. Please do that for me. If nothing else, this man in America is pleading with you. I approve his message. Please. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. Take care, everyone.
You're more than welcome. Bye.
Bye bye. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, and you want to go deeper into numerology, check out my website, tom-eckert.com. You can also book a numerology reading or even study numerology yourself through my courses. I'll see you in the next episode.